What if the hardest command Jesus ever gave was also the one that could completely transform your life? What if the people who hurt you the most were actually the greatest test of your faith? And what if true Christianity is not proven by how we treat our friends, but by how we respond to our enemies? Jesus stood before the crowd and spoke words that sounded impossible. The people listening that day lived in a world filled with hatred, revenge, division, and violence. Many had suffered injustice. Some carried deep wounds caused by betrayal, oppression, or cruelty. They expected teachings about justice and victory over enemies, but instead Jesus gave a command that shocked everyone: love your enemies. Even today, those words challenge the human heart, because loving kind people is easy. Loving people who agree with us is easy. Loving people who support us is easy. But loving those who insult us, betray us, reject us, or wound us feels unnatural. Human instinct says, fight back. Pride says, get even. Pain says, make them suffer like they made you suffer. But Jesus taught a completely different way. Do good to those who hate you. Imagine hearing those words for the first time. The crowd must have looked at each other in disbelief. How could anyone do good to someone who hates them? Why would God ask people to respond to cruelty with kindness? Because Jesus was revealing the heart of God himself. The world operates on retaliation. One insult leads to another. One act of hate creates more hate. Revenge spreads like fire, destroying peace, relationships, families, and even entire nations. But God's kingdom works differently. Love interrupts the cycle. Mercy breaks chains. Forgiveness stops hatred from taking over the heart. Jesus continued, "Bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you." That may be one of the most difficult teachings in the entire Bible. Pray for the people who hurt you, bless the people who speak against you. How is that possible? It becomes possible only when a person understands the mercy God has shown them first. Every human being has failed God. Every person has sinned. Yet God still offers grace, forgiveness, and love through Jesus Christ. The same mercy we receive from God is the mercy we are called to extend to others. This does not mean pretending evil is acceptable. Jesus never ignored sin or injustice. Loving enemies does not mean approving harmful behavior or allowing abuse to continue. It means refusing to let hatred control the heart. Hatred has a terrifying power. It slowly poisons the soul. A person may think they are hurting their enemy by holding on to bitterness, but bitterness usually destroys the one carrying it. Anger grows quietly inside. Peace disappears. Joy fades. The heart becomes heavy. Many people spend years replaying painful memories, reliving betrayal over and over again. They imagine revenge. They rehearse arguments in their minds. They feed resentment until it shapes their personality. Jesus came to set people free from that prison. He knew that forgiveness heals the person who forgives as much as the person being forgiven. Then Jesus gave practical examples that sounded radical. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. This was not weakness. It was strength under control. The world admires aggression. Jesus admired self-control. Anyone can explode in anger. Anyone can return insult for insult. But it takes spiritual strength to respond with peace. Jesus was teaching his followers not to become mirrors of the hatred around them. If evil turns a kind person into a hateful person, then evil has already won. God calls believers to reflect his character instead. Then Jesus said, "If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them." The message was clear. Followers of Christ are not called to live with clenched fists and guarded hearts. They are called to live generously, even in a selfish world. That kind of lifestyle confuses people. The world asks, "What do I deserve?" Jesus asks, "How can you show mercy?" The world says, "Protect yourself first." Jesus says, "Trust God enough to love sacrificially." Then came the famous words known around the world, "Do to others as you would have them do to you." This simple sentence carries enormous power. Imagine if every person truly lived this way. Imagine families built on this principle, friendships shaped by it, communities guided by it. Wars would decrease, hatred would weaken, relationships would heal. But human selfishness constantly fights against this teaching. Most people treat others based on emotion. If someone is kind, they respond kindly. If someone is rude, they respond harshly. Human love often depends on how people are treated first. But Jesus challenged his followers to rise above ordinary behavior. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. That statement cuts deeply. Anyone can love when it is easy. Anyone can show kindness when there is benefit in return. But God's love goes further. God loved humanity while humanity was still rebellious. Jesus died for sinners, not because people earned his love, but because mercy flows from his nature. That changes the definition of love completely. Biblical love is not just emotion, it is choice, action, sacrifice, mercy, patience, grace. And sometimes love means responding with kindness even when the other person does not deserve it. This does not mean becoming weak or allowing evil to dominate life. Boundaries are important. Wisdom matters. Jesus himself sometimes walked away from hostile crowds. There are situations where distance and protection are necessary. But even while protecting the heart, believers are still called to reject hatred. Why? Because hatred slowly transforms people into the very darkness they oppose. Jesus continued with another powerful truth. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Everything comes back to the character of God. God is patient with humanity every single day. People ignore him, mock him, reject him, and still he gives opportunities for repentance. The sun rises on both the righteous and the wicked. Breath continues, mercy continues. Every heartbeat is evidence of God's patience. And if God shows such mercy to imperfect people, how can his followers refuse mercy to others? Think about the moments Jesus demonstrated this himself. When religious leaders falsely accused him, he did not call down destruction upon them. When soldiers mocked and crucified him, he prayed, "Father, forgive them." Even while suffering unimaginable pain, Jesus chose forgiveness over revenge. That is the heart of Christianity, not merely religious rituals, not simply attending church, but becoming more like Christ. And Christ loved his enemies. This teaching becomes especially difficult in today's world because modern culture often encourages outrage. Social media rewards anger. People are pressured to choose sides, attack opponents, and destroy anyone who disagrees with them. Forgiveness is often viewed as weakness. Mercy is seen as foolishness. Kindness is mistaken for vulnerability. But Jesus never measured strength the way the world does. True spiritual strength is revealed when someone refuses to let evil reshape their heart. There are people carrying wounds from childhood. Others were betrayed by friends they trusted. Some were abandoned by family members. Others suffered lies, rejection, humiliation, or deep injustice. The pain is real. Jesus never denied that. But he warned that hatred cannot heal pain. Only God can truly heal the human heart. And one of the ways healing begins is through forgiveness. Forgiveness does not erase memory instantly. It does not remove all consequences. It does not always restore broken relationships. But it releases the burden of revenge into God's hands. Some people hold on to bitterness because they fear forgiveness means the offender wins. But forgiveness is not surrendering justice. It is trusting God with justice instead of trying to carry it personally. Romans says, "Vengeance is mine," says the Lord. God sees every wrong. Nothing escapes his eyes. No betrayal goes unnoticed. No injustice is forgotten. That truth allows believers to release the exhausting burden of hatred. Jesus also understood something profound about enemies. Sometimes enemies change. The Apostle Paul once persecuted Christians aggressively. He approved violence against believers, yet God transformed him into one of the greatest messengers of the gospel. Imagine if early Christians had only responded to Paul with hatred and revenge. Mercy created space for redemption. The same can still happen today. Some people who oppose faith today may one day encounter God powerfully. Some who act cruelly are themselves deeply wounded. Some who spread hate are spiritually lost and searching for meaning. This does not excuse evil behavior, but it reminds believers that no person is beyond God's ability to change. Loving enemies reflects confidence in God's power. Hatred assumes people can never change. Mercy leaves room for redemption. One of the greatest dangers in life is allowing pain to harden the heart permanently. A hardened heart struggles to trust, struggles to love, struggles to feel compassion, and eventually it struggles to experience peace. Jesus wanted his followers to remain spiritually alive, tender-hearted and free. That freedom comes when people stop feeding bitterness. Some people spend decades imprisoned by anger towards someone who may not even think about them anymore. Meanwhile, their own joy disappears year after year. Jesus offers another path, a better path. Not an easy path, but a healing one. Love your enemies, pray for those who hurt you, show mercy, refuse revenge, trust God. These teachings are impossible through human strength alone. That is why people need God's Spirit working within them. Human nature naturally drifts toward pride, retaliation, and selfishness, but God changes hearts from the inside out. When someone truly encounters the love of Christ, they begin to love differently. Not perfectly, but differently. They become slower to hate, quicker to forgive, more compassionate, more patient, more aware of how much mercy they themselves have received from God. This message also exposes an uncomfortable truth. Many people want forgiveness from God while refusing to forgive others. Jesus warned repeatedly about this contradiction. A heart transformed by grace becomes willing to extend grace. Again, this does not mean pretending evil never happened. Some wounds are severe. Healing may take time, trust may need rebuilding, wisdom may require boundaries. But even in those situations, believers are called to reject hatred, because hatred destroys peace, and peace is too valuable to surrender. The world desperately needs this teaching today. Families divided by anger, friendships destroyed by pride, communities fractured by hostility, nations consumed by revenge. Imagine how different the world would become if more people truly followed the words of Jesus, not just quoting them, living them. Imagine marriages transformed by mercy. Imagine parents responding with patience instead of rage. Imagine online conversations shaped by grace instead of cruelty. Imagine churches known more for compassion than conflict. This is the kind of kingdom Jesus came to establish. A kingdom where love is stronger than hate, where mercy triumphs over revenge, where forgiveness overcomes bitterness, and where God transforms hearts that seem impossible to change. The greatest example of enemy love happened at the cross. Humanity rebelled against God, yet instead of destroying humanity, God offered salvation through Jesus Christ. The cross is proof that God loves undeserving people. Every believer stands as evidence of mercy received. And because believers have received mercy, they are called to become people of mercy. This does not mean life becomes easy. There will still be painful people, betrayals, conflicts, moments of deep hurt. But followers of Christ are called to respond differently than the world. Not because it is easy, but because it reflects the heart of God. One day, every act of mercy will matter. Every moment someone chose forgiveness over revenge will matter. Every prayer spoken for an enemy will matter. God sees it all. And perhaps the greatest mystery is this. Sometimes loving enemies changes not only them, but also us. It softens the soul, strengthens character, deepens faith, and draws people closer to the heart of Christ. The path Jesus described is difficult, but it leads to freedom. Freedom from bitterness, freedom from hatred, freedom from carrying pain like chains around the soul. That freedom is found in surrendering everything to God, including anger, including wounds, including enemies. Because God alone can heal what human strength cannot. So today, ask yourself honestly, is there someone I need to forgive? Is hatred stealing my peace? Am I reflecting the mercy God has shown me? The answers to those questions can change a life forever. Jesus did not simply teach people how to behave better. He came to transform hearts completely, and transformed hearts love differently. Thank you for watching this video. If this message touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who may need encouragement, and subscribe to Holy Path Insights for more powerful biblical teachings and faith-filled inspiration. May God fill your heart with peace, mercy, and the strength to love the way Christ loves.